All right, so I wanted to start actually by taking you back to when you were a young kid growing up. How would you describe what life was like growing up?
Life was pretty simple, actually. Um, I remember, since the time I can remember things, I remember always wanting to play cricket, just hold a cricket bat and just hit balls. Um, so yeah, that's my earliest memory of knowing that I want to do this as a profession. And slowly in time, I asked my father one day to, because I used to go and play in the park regularly, and then I was able to watch games on TV and then copy exactly the things that were happening on TV, like the professionals did. And then my friends told me, you're pretty good. I mean, where did you learn this? And I used to tell them I saw it on TV yesterday, and I thought I'll try it here, and I used to execute it properly. So we grew up in a housing society, and people were always together, always, friends spending time with each other, just being kids, really, just having fun in life and just enjoying life every day. And yeah, it was a beautiful time.
How would you describe the rented house that you grew up in?
I think it was around when I was 13 or maybe 14 years old when we started staying on rent. And I remember that because my brother wanted to set up a business, and we had to sort of get the finances going, and we didn't have anything, so we had to get rid of our house and put in money into the business and stay on rent from there. And then the business boomed, and then it collapsed, and the situation became really difficult. So yeah, those early years of me getting to play for the state team, which is the Delhi team, in age group cricket. So we have what do you call under 15 level, then the under 17s, then the under 19s. So all that time we were staying on a rented place, and it's actually a very tricky time to remember, because you're not really sure whether you're going to make it professionally or not. You realize the competition that's around you, and you have to outperform everyone. And then there's so many other factors when you're growing up and you're wanting to play eventually for your country. So yeah, that was a tough time. I mean, we didn't have the resources that we would have expected to as a family. And
What led to the business collapsing?
it was a combination of a lot of things. A few people who we trusted sort of breaking your trust. That's the reason why most things fail, because you trust people and then they betray you of sorts. And then the recovery was very difficult, because you take a lot of effort and time to set up something, and then it collapses, and then you don't have the resources to establish anything again. So yeah, I remember that time being very volatile. It was something that all of us felt was very tough to be able to find resources.
What do you think was the hardest part of going through that?
The hardest part was I lost my father as well. After I was 17, just turned 18, and I was playing my first year of first class cricket. So first class cricket in India is the highest level of state cricket, and after that you start playing for your second 11 Indian team, and then eventually the Indian team. So I was at that level, and it was my breakthrough year, and that's when my father passed away. So I think that was like everything's going bad, and that for us was the worst part of it all.
I want to ask you about your parents, and there's a funny moment involving your dad as well. But what do you think you learned from your folks?
What I learned from my dad was, as you can understand, in junior level cricket and coming up in any institution, you have a lot of things happening around selection and people being favored and doing the wrong things, and it's a lot of manipulation happens in terms of the important people getting their way and stuff like that. So we faced that as well, and there were many instances when I was growing up when literally my father was told that if you want your child selected or something like that, you'll have to do a few things to get him there.
Meaning what?
Meaning, doing a few favors for people, or just entertaining people for the sake of it and stuff like that. And he was a self-made man, and he thought, no, this is not the right thing to do. I'm not going to entertain someone just so that my son can play state cricket. If he is good enough, he's going to make it on his ability, and if not, so be it. And because he was so strong and self-made, that taught me a lot of things. Because had he chosen the wrong path for me, I would have become a guy who looks for excuses. Because you learn everything from looking at what your parents do and the example they set. So I would have become a guy who looks for excuses, maybe could never reach the highest level. So what that taught me was to just believe in yourself, believe in your performances, and that's the only thing that will always speak for you. So those were the most important teachings for me growing up, to see the right thing happening in front of my eyes, and purely because we didn't also have the resources to do anything which was, outrageous or extravagant, that taught you the values of life.
You're 12 years old. Tell about when your father accidentally abandons you when you're kite shopping on Independence Day.
So my father was, as I said, self-made man, and he was very particular about rules and regulations. And for some reason, I forgot to get my the helmet to sit at the back of the scooter that we used to have. So he had his helmet on, and it was a Sunday, and I actually halfway he realized that I don't have the helmet on, and I told him it's fine. It's a Sunday. No one's gonna be there on the streets. No one's gonna catch us. And I was just being stupid. I was just being excited to just get out of the house and get those kites, because that's a big festival in North India. The Independence Day is celebrated by flying kites, and that's that sort of thing. So it's huge, and I was so excited to just get my stuff. And he took me there. So on the way back, we saw a shop where people were selling fruits, and I love watermelons. So I told him I want a watermelon, and they were big, like nice green watermelons there, and the guy cut it, we tasted it, everything. Okay, this is the one we're getting. And by the time I came out, I had the bag, and there used to be a hook in front of the scooter. So I went to put the watermelon on the hook, and I don't know what happened. By that time, a couple of traffic police guys were walking towards us, and they were randomly just walking on the street, right? They didn't even notice that I have a helmet, or the scooter was parked. And for some reason, he panicked. He thought they're coming to catch us, and he thought I'm on the scooter already. And before I could get on the back, he just rode off. And I'm standing there on the road looking at him just going away, and I'm thinking, I'm shouting, and the helmet used to have, used to cover your ears back then. So he couldn't hear me. And because of the sound of scooter as well, he just went off. And he didn't come back for 10 minutes, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And then I took another mode of transport to go back home. We call those things rickshaws here, like a cycle kind of a thing. And then I'm sitting on one of those. So apparently he went back home and he asked my mother where I am. And she's like, what do you mean where I am? You took him with you. You should know where he is. So then he came back looking for me, and I was on this thing going back, and he's shouting from across the road, shouting my name, and I just turned my head. I didn't want to speak to him. I kept ignoring. I was like, how the hell can you do that to me? How can you leave me on the road? So yeah, that was a pretty funny moment, and I gave him a lot of flack after that.
And you had talked to him for like a couple days after that, right?
I didn't speak to him. I couldn't believe me. He left me on the street and went back home. He actually reached home. I could not believe it. I was like, okay, fine, you should remember that your child's not sitting behind you. He just went home. So yeah, I didn't speak to him for 2 days.
I hear you do a good impression of when Gagan's brother got hit in the head and passed out playing cricket.
It was so funny. Yeah, so a very good friend of mine, Ishant Sharma, he plays Test cricket for India. So he's been a good friend of mine since he started playing for the state, because I played with him, all age groups, everything, and we play for the country together as well. So he was playing for his club against us in a game, and I had played state cricket with him. So me and Gagan's brother, we used to bat together. We used to walk out to bat together. So I told him, and he never wore a helmet, right? Like for protection on his head. And I told him, please wear a helmet. This guy is fast. He bowls fast. He's like, I'm not scared of anyone. I know. And he was a good player, Gagan's brother. So I knew he's a good player. I said, I know that, but I played this guy. He's fast and he's tall, so he can hurt you. He didn't listen to me. And the first ball he bowled, he played it quite well. The second ball he bowled a ball which came towards his head, and then he just went for a shot and it hit his head. So Sikh people in India wear something called a turban,
Okay.
and then there's a smaller version which is like a cloth around their head. So he was wearing that. So he got hit on the head. I went to him and he was pretty fine about it. I went to him, I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, don't worry about it. I'm all good, all good. He's not that quick. So the moment he turned around, Ishan turned around to bowl again, in that whole process, I turn around and I don't see his brother anymore. And he's sitting by the umpire on the other side. He lost total sense. He was nauseous. He kept swinging around and then he went and sat on the ground next to the umpire. And we panicked. We laugh about it afterwards, but we thought he's gone mad. He got hit on the head. And he just went and sat next to the umpire and everyone's looking at him. And then we had to take him to the hospital and then he had a few issues. Then it got resolved, but it was so funny. He said, "I'm fine." But after 10 seconds, he's not even on the pitch. He's sitting there on the other side of the field just all by himself.
So science and math, I understand, were your favorite subjects in school.
Who told you math was my
No,
favorite subject?
were you not good?
No way.
Not, why not?
So in math, we used to have exams, and the maximum marks you could get in an exam was 100, right? I used to get 3. I was that good. I did not understand why someone would even want to learn math. I mean, I could not understand the complications behind it. I mean, why do things have to be so difficult? And I haven't used any of those formulas in my life till now. Cos, theta, sin, I was like, what the hell is going on? Why would these things come together and produce this? How is it possible? I understood sport. I could never relate to math. It was like, I just wanted to get through my 10th grade exams because they used to happen at a state level. And then after that, you can choose whether you want to continue with math or not. I'm telling you, I've never worked hard, even in cricket. The amount I worked hard to pass that exam so I can get rid of that subject. I promise you. I passed it and then I was like, I'm never looking at math again.
How often would you have to miss school because you were at cricket tournaments?
Quite often, especially the higher grades. I think when I was younger, I didn't have so much cricket going on. But when I started playing for the under-19 Indian team, we started traveling abroad. So 5 to 6 months of the year, I couldn't study at all. And then, as I said, with whatever learning power or the focus you had, you study for 2-3 months and then you did well in exams. I wouldn't say I was the most intelligent guys around, but I was smart enough to pick up things, and that would get me through grades, different classes. So yeah, but the higher grades were much more difficult.
How lucky was the timing of the national selectors' arrival?
Oh, that probably is the most crucial moment of my life, to be honest.
How so?
So I don't know if you've heard about the IPL, the Indian Premier League, which is the most famous cricket tournament in the world right now. So we won the Under-19 Cricket World Cup in Malaysia in 2008, and I got picked in the IPL, which was the most fascinating sort of global viewership tournament in the world, and everyone's watching that, and I got an opportunity to play, and I thought, man, this is my chance, and I messed it up so bad. I was so bad in that first season of the IPL, and I thought, this is it. My life's done. I'm going back into the circuit, and I have to do everything all over again. Then, luckily, I got picked for the second 11. As I told you, the India A team is what we call it, and we were touring Australia, and I was having a horrible series. Even there, I couldn't score any runs, and so after a few games, another guy wasn't scoring runs, and the captain of the team said, "Why don't you give another chance to this guy? He's good. He's sitting outside. We know he hasn't done well. Just give him one chance and see." So the coach asked me to play at a position I'd never played in my life, which was opening the innings, like you walk out to bat first. So I said, I'll do it. I said, I just want to play. I was sick of sitting out, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I just want to play. So that game, we heard the chief selector of India, who selects the senior team, is going to be here. And we bowled first. So he didn't watch me bat. And he wasn't present, actually. So when he came in, was the time I was walking out to bat. And I was so lucky. I was like, if we had batted first, you would never have seen. So what I believe in is, even now when I see someone play, if you look at someone play, as opposed to hearing about someone, it's a totally different ball game. You can hear about people who do the same thing as anyone else, but you see someone else doing it in a way where you feel like, man, this guy is made for that level. So I was walking out to bat and I scored a century. I got 120 runs. I didn't get out. I walked out and he saw me bat. And he told the selectors, this guy will go on tour, the next Indian tour, after having the worst time of my life. And I was like, man, my whole life changed there. He selected me and I got a chance to play as well for the national team. And I was like, I felt so lucky that he could watch me play, and that impact was something that led him to selecting me.
The West Delhi Cricket Academy, how would you best explain what that place is?
That place for me is everything. That place for me, it taught me what I know today. It taught me the importance of discipline. It taught me the importance of companionship, playing as a team. So whatever I learned in my life in terms of sport, and that helped me in life as well, came from that academy. And I remember walking in the first day and I was so excited. I got new clothes to wear, new kit and everything, and I just walked in. And because I used to play with people who were elder than me in my housing society, I walked in and I saw all these small kids practicing at one end, and then in the big guys I saw a guy who was short. So I started running towards that group. So the coach is like, what are you doing? And I was like, that guy is just a little taller than me, so I'm going there. I want to train with those guys. I know, but you are of this age group. I said, but these guys are too small. I can't train with them. So then he was like, no, you need to train with them. And then I think in a couple of months I was playing with the senior guys already.
Why do you think he allowed you to so soon? Because that's not normal.
Yeah, he didn't allow me on day one because that's the rule of the academy. You can't just walk in and just go wherever you want.
Right.
But after a couple of months, he understood that I was ready to play with the seniors already, and I was just not enjoying the competition that, no offense, but that age group brought, because I was already playing with the senior guys. So I was ready to be more competitive and play against the big guys already. It actually kept making me stronger and stronger, and I used to come back thinking that I'm gonna prove to these guys that they are doing the wrong thing with me, in a fun way, but I used to be more motivated to perform.
How would you explain the role that Raj Kumar plays in your life now?
He's still my mentor. He's still a person that I speak to after every tour, before every tour, and he's always been a guiding influence in my life, and I'll always be very grateful to him because he's taught me everything I know. He pushed me in the right direction. He understood when to elevate me to the next level. As I just mentioned, pushing me into the seniors, all those kind of things. So he understood my journey and my graph the best, better than anyone else could have, because I spent so much time at the academy and with him as well.
What about him do you fear?
What about him do I fear? Not many things now, but when I was younger, he would pull me up, and I was smacked a few times as well. And I used to fear that. I used to know that if I messed up, he's gonna pull me up in front of everyone, because he was a big believer of, if you want to excel in sport, you can't have an ego. And he would smack me in front of everyone. He made sure that the teammates saw that if I did something wrong, and same with anyone else.
How would that make you feel?
That would make me feel angry, because I felt like I was being embarrassed in front of people, but then now I understand the importance of it.
Which was what?
Which was, if you're not honest in front of your teammates, you can never be a team man. So if you're not exposed in front of your teammates, if you don't have the courage to say, I messed up, and if someone else pulls you up for it, you feel angry because you didn't want to admit your mistake in front of people, because that makes you feel inferior in some way. And when you're growing up, you have a lot of ego. You want to feel superior, and you want to feel like you're the man. And so when your ego is broken, you feel hurt. But then after a while, you realize all you need to do is play for the team, and that's it.
Describe the importance of cricket in India.
The importance of cricket in India is huge. There's a reason why they say it's not a sport, it's a religion in India, because one, the kind of emotion it brings out. Cricket is one sport that everyone has played at some stage in their life in India. And that is why it's so special in people's hearts and minds, and the kind of connect, or the kind of ownership, or the kind of frustration and emotion they feel with the players and with the team, it's a very organic thing. It's not made up. And I understand that because growing up, when I used to watch games, I used to be involved in a way that nothing else would involve me. And I never understood why, because I never played at that level. But still, I would feel like I could have done this. And people actually feel like because they played at some level, the guy shouldn't have done this, he should have done that. But that comes from a very pure source.
90% of cricket fans are apparently in the Indian subcontinent. I understand Bollywood will not release a movie during the 7-week IPL season. To what extent do you think the IPL in India is similar to the NFL in America in terms of passion?
It's huge. The IPL has become that one tournament where for 2 months, people just look forward to it being 8 in the evening, and they just sit together and watch. We as playing for one franchise, we watch other franchise play, and we get so excited watching the games, and we get fascinated by it. And I can imagine people who are not even involved in the tournament, what entertainment it brings for them. So I think the potential is endless. I believe that IPL is just a platform for you to express your skills and to get better at what you're doing, because it's so highly competitive. But I think the intention should always be to want to play for your country.
How would you best explain cricket to an American audience that's generally unfamiliar with the sport?
It's I've heard a few American people have come to IPL and they've sat down the whole length of the game and tried to understand the game fully, and still they'll leave a bit confused. So I think it's basically, if you understand the basic essentials of the sport and just watch it for the entertainment of it, you'll be very entertained and you'll be fine. But if you go into the finer details, as I said, you can really confuse yourself, because there are a lot of terms that you wouldn't have heard of, or you wouldn't understand what they are. Even when we watch baseball, the only thing I'm worried about is a home run, and just looking at people going mad. So it's basically, if you just relate to the fun part of it, you can really enjoy watching the sport.
Americans would probably be surprised to hear is that you, as I mentioned earlier, you were once at bat for 8+ hours. I'm thinking like December 2016, England. Yeah. Tell about how that happens.
It happens in a very different way. You have a lunch break, which is 40 minutes between play, and then you come back and play again, and then you have a tea break, which is 20 minutes between play. Why they call it test cricket is because it tests you physically and mentally over 5 days. It's not a thing that starts at one time, ends at one time, and you get done with it and move on.
This is a game that lasts 5 days.
Yes, it does. So the beautiful thing about that is, and people find it so bizarre, that how can one game, one match in a sport go on for 5 days? The basic concept behind it is, Test cricket for me is very similar to life. So if things don't go your way on day one, you have to go to sleep, you have to wake up and come back. There's no option of forgetting about it, there's no option of leaving it behind, there's no option of I don't want to do this anymore, because if you don't turn up, you're left with 10 men and you're out of the team. So you have no option but to keep coming. Even if you do well, you have to wake up the next day, work hard all over again, you get a second chance to play, and then you want to work hard, or you have to work hard to do the same thing that you did on day one. And ups and downs through the game. Sometimes you're just batting for 3 hours, not scoring a run. And sometimes life is about that, just being there, just hanging in there, and then wait for your time, and then capitalize on it. So it teaches you so many things if you take it in the right way. And I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful that I'm able to play test cricket for my country. It's taught me things that I could never imagine I could learn.
Why do you feel the commercialization of the game is hurting cricket?
I think the more you commercialize the sport, the quality of the game will come down. That's what I strongly believe in. If you look at the number of games that we play now compared to 10 years back, it's a huge change. You could never imagine cricketers playing so many games throughout the year. And what happens is the quality will invariably go down. I've heard people say that, there's too much cricket to watch sometimes, and we just don't want to watch it. So it affects a lot of things. And if you have a tournament like a World Cup, which is a global tournament, and everyone's watching it, that brings interests. So I think the more impactful tournaments we have, And if the number of games on a regular basis come down and the more global tournaments where all teams are playing against each other, they increase, I think that's going to sustain the sport really well, not the number of games.
In what ways would you say you're an aggressive batsman?
Well, I've always liked to take control of the situation. I've always been a kind of a player who would walk into a situation and turn the situation towards in the favor of my team. And that's why I think I'm an aggressive batsman, because a lot of people, they would go in and they would be wary of the situation, whether they want to attack or not. My game is totally counter-attack. My game is, if I look at spaces in the field, I think of the fact that I can score runs here and I don't feel like I might get out. So you have two ways of approaching your skill. Either you give in to the opposition's plans and their mind games, or you believe in yourself and say, everyone's looking at this as a pressure situation, but I look at it as an opportunity. So I go in with that mindset, and 8 out of 10 times it happens in a way that I'm able to counterattack.
And explain the role that angles play.
Angles play a huge role in terms of batsmanship as well. Sometimes you have to. So basically, what we have in cricket is we have the batting crease, which is a line, which traditionally you stand either side of the line, and that's the normal setup of a batsman. But sometimes if you play in England, the ball swings, it moves around. When the bowler bowls the ball. So in baseball, you don't have the ball moving around so much, but in cricket, you have a lot of variation with the ball, where the ball has a seam stitched to it. So when it pitches on the surface, it can go either way. Mm-hmm. It swings in the air because of the conditions, because of the shine on the ball. So there's so many variables that you need to counter. And batting is about a split second of a decision. If I make the wrong decision, I sit outside and I clap all day. So the precision of that split second has to be so good. And you have to keep countering it and keep being in the right mindset every ball of the game, every second of the game. It's tiring at the end of the day as well mentally, but to counter those kind of things, if you stand in your normal sort of traditional position, you have more chances of getting out. So sometimes you cut angles in a way that you stand in a different place to make the bowler do something different. So those are the things that work really well in your favor in cricket.
How does visualization help with that?
It is everything for me.
How so?
So if you're going to play an overseas tour, say to Australia or England or something like that, I literally sat down 2-3 months before, and I've made a decision in my head that I'm going to take their best bowler on. And when I train in the gym, when I'm practicing, regularly there are visuals running in my head, me dominating that bowler. When I train, I have music on, I'm putting myself in a situation where that guy is bringing the heat onto me and I'm countering that, and that becomes such a reality in your head. And invariably, when I went into that situation, I ended up dominating that guy in their own home conditions.
And what specifically are you seeing when you're visualizing?
I'm actually seeing smashing that bowler all over the field. So I actually feel that emotion in my heart, and I can feel that this is going to happen. And you tune your head or you tune your mind in a way that it's so convincing in your mind that when you're in that situation, your body just takes over because it's already registered in your mind. And when that happens, you feel like, wow, man, this is so powerful. Because if something looks difficult, and if you don't convince yourself to go out there and achieve the opposite, you're never going to be able to do it. You can't just land in a place and say, I'll see what happens. That way, your chances of succeeding become very, very low.
Your first year in the IPL, you're playing with some of the best players in the world. Your coach, Raj Kumar, said that your shortcoming was overconfidence. How so?
It was. I lost my way. I drifted quite a bit, and eventually I had the worst season I could have, and I had discipline issues, and I actually lost my way pretty badly. I just saw this whole frenzy and this attention on me, and suddenly playing with the biggest stars in the world, and they make you feel welcome, they make you feel friendly, and you feel like, I'm the man, I'm everything, and I can do anything I want. So yeah, I did lose my way, and again, he pulled me up, he called me, he's like, you need to get your act right. And
is that what he said specifically?
Yeah, he said, I've heard things, and you need to be careful. You need to stay away from all this stuff that's been happening.
And what was the stuff?
Just being distracted, just partying, just not that focused, not focusing on my training, my diet, nothing. My graphs just kept going down. And I didn't realize it. I was like, I got so carried away just wanting to be around these people and doing, anything just to be socially accepted and, just to be part of groups and wanting to hang out with cool people and stuff like that. And then after that, I realized that I was heading into a totally wrong direction.
In what ways do you think you struggled at times handling hecklers?
Well, I've had many instances where I lost my cool with people who would sort of poke me or urge me to, lose my temper.
Like what would get to you the most?
I think the stuff that would get to me the most was bad sledging. Like if someone, so sledging, I don't know if you know about sledging. Sledging is basically when you're playing on the field and people say nasty things to you just so you can get out and make you lose your focus. So when those kind of nasty things happen, I just lost my cool completely. And people would get personal as well. A lot of the time they would get personal.
And these are other players?
Other
or
players from other
spectators?
countries.
Okay.
And I would
Like
totally
what would they
not-
say?
They would say stuff which was, oh, this is the last time he's going to ever play for his country, and this is it, and you're never going to see his face again, and those kind of nasty things. And he felt like, yes, you want to get someone out, but you can't snatch someone's life away from them by saying stuff like that. It's, if a young guy comes in and he actually believes in it, you could destroy his whole life. I can understand people lose their temper and they fight against each other, they swear at each other, but you don't wish that someone never comes back to play the sport that they've loved playing since they were kids. So those kind of things would rile me up, and then the crowd plays a big role as well. The crowd riled me up as well a few times, and one time I flicked a finger. I flicked the middle finger at the crowd as well, and it was so funny in Australia. I had enough of the crowd coming at me every time, and I would hear stuff which was so nasty, and I was like, man, this is so bad. And I never thought this is going to be the case playing cricket at the highest level. So I flicked the middle finger, and then next day I come in, the match referee, the guy who's in charge of the code of conduct.
He gave you a pass.
He called me into the office and he said, so what happened yesterday? And I said, nothing. What happened? He said, what happened at the boundary line yesterday? I said, nothing happened. It was all good. The crowd was saying some things and I just went on with it. I didn't say anything. And then boom, he drops this newspaper in front of me. I have a 14, 15 inch long picture of myself on the front page of an Australian newspaper with my middle finger right up there, and it wasn't even blood. And immediately I said, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I immediately accepted. I said, I'm so sorry. Please don't ban me. I will never do this again. So he took half of my match fees away, and then he warned me, and then he was like, you should be careful, you're young, you don't want to spoil your career. But I kept learning with my mistakes.
Why did an Australian newspaper call you the Donald Trump of world sport?
Yeah, a lot of nasty things happened back in the day. I think both sides were quite naive. I was quite naive to lose my temper. They were quite naive to form a judgment so quickly, and we always think that our side of the story is right. So that's exactly what happened in that situation. They really took it to the next level, and I was like, well, it is what it is, and I've called it upon myself.
Why'd your mom give you a locket and gold chain to help with your temper?
Well, it's something, it's a sea pearl stone, which is supposed to be calming, and people in India believe in wearing a lot of stones, and it has a scientific meaning to it as well, because of the elements of the stone and the magnetic field around us, and how it impacts certain characteristics in us as well. So she gave me one saying, this is going to help you with your temper. I don't know to what extent it helped me, to be honest, but yeah, the effort was certainly there, but I kept losing my temper.
Why do you think you've since had so much success in calming yourself down?
Well, again, you learn. After a while, you feel like you really don't have any competition. It's just all made up in your own head, and at the end of the day, you're just competing with yourself. So my main focus now is to not disappoint myself first as a person, and then impact the people immediately who are connected to me immediately. So they see if I have a downfall and things will become negative around me, So I've become more aware of my mistakes. I've become more aware of if I mess up at any time, I need to be the first one to correct it rather than someone having to come and say you're going down the wrong direction. So I think acceptance and awareness has certainly changed my life.
Your dad's death. Explain the situation that led to him unexpectedly passing.
The situation was so he used to do online share trading, and that was something that became quite a big thing back then when in 2006 when he started doing it. And then, as I said, the business side of things wasn't doing well for my brother. The house was on rent, and then his online share trading account suddenly crashed. So one transaction went really bad, and all the transactions that he'd done before that and whatever he had accumulated sort of went down in a go. So he really the amount of stress it brought onto him mentally was huge. So he had a stroke. He had a clot form in his brain. I didn't know it because I was playing my first season and I was at practice, and I was coming back from practice, and I reached the house, and then my cousin's sister was there, and I asked her where everyone is, and she's like, no, they've just gone for a regular checkup. I was like, why would everyone in the house go for a regular checkup? This doesn't seem right. Why is she the only one sitting at home? So I asked her where they are. She told me they're at this place, and I was like, take me there. So we went there, and then I saw him. And then I saw him, in a situation that I'd never seen him before. And
What was the situation?
Because it was a stroke in the brain, he wasn't able to react in the normal manner. His body was moving in a funny way, and he was not able to figure out where he is, like the way he looked at people as well. It was like he lost total sense of what's going on. So I saw him like that, and then they took him to the operation theater, and then it was a very difficult time because they did the operation, then he came back home, and then he was in rehab, but I saw him, left side of his body got paralyzed, left side vision also got compromised, and he was just not able to communicate that well, even with the family members anymore, and couldn't do anything by himself. People had to pick him up and take him to the toilet, and there he was, a self-made man. He would just, in the house, if something went wrong, he wouldn't call anyone. He would just open the socket, the electric socket, and just start fixing things himself. So he was that self-made, and he wasn't dependent on anyone. So for a person like that to go through that, he couldn't handle it after a while, and then eventually after a couple of weeks of rehab, he got a cardiac arrest.
And you were there.
I was batting night. Actually. I was playing a game, and we were playing one of these 4-day games, which used to happen at the first class level, and I was supposed to resume batting the next day. And this happened around 2:30 or 3 in the morning, and we all woke up and we had no idea what to do, and he was gone by the time we woke up, and I literally saw him take his last breath in front of me, and I tried to pump his chest and all that, nothing worked. And then there were a few doctors around in that area that we lived in. We went to their place. No one opened the door because it was 3 in the morning. We couldn't get any response, and then we drove him to the hospital. But by the time they tried electric shocks and everything, all those kind of things, but nothing worked. He couldn't recover at all. So my sister and my brother and my mother, they all broke down, and funnily enough, I couldn't cry at all. There was no emotion coming out of me, and I just became blank. I couldn't register what just happened.
Why do you think that was?
I have no idea. Till date, I can't understand. And I was feeling like I was myself thinking, why am I not able to cry? And then I think it was all building up inside me. So when we came back, and everyone, all the relatives came in to sort of pay their condolences and stuff like that. And then I called my coach in the morning, and I told him what had happened. And then he asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go and play. So he said, are you sure? And I was like,
because you had a game that day.
Yeah, and for me, leaving a cricket match was something which was not acceptable, regardless of what happened in life. Not going to a match was not an option I ever had, or I couldn't register that option in my mind. So I said, I'm going to go. And he said, okay, if that's your decision, go ahead. So I left the house. I hadn't cried at all, nothing, no emotion. And my family was actually feeling a bit nervous looking at me because I was showing no emotion and everyone was like, crying and they were emotional. And then I went to the game and I picked up a friend of mine again and I told him what had happened. He thought I was joking, he didn't believe me. We kept going, we reached the stadium, and when we reached the stadium and I sat in the change room and he told everyone what had happened. So when everyone came around me to tell me, we're sorry for you, and that's the time I really broke down, and that's the time all that emotion came out, and I don't know why.
The strangest part of the whole story to me was that night when you called your coach back and you were upset. He was surprised that you weren't upset about what he would have thought it was about. You were upset about your performance in the game.
I was upset because I was the umpire in the game made a wrong decision and he gave me out when I wasn't out. And I was upset because I couldn't be there till the end to make my team win the game. And I was really upset about that. So yeah, in the evening he was surprised to know that I was actually talking about that.
Especially now, many years removed from having gone through that, how do you think your father's passing affected you?
Now I feel like it was probably the most impactful thing that happened in my life. Because I remember that day, I came back from the game. After I got out, I came back to do the cremation and all the rituals that follow. And I remember telling my brother specifically that I am going to play for my country and I am going to play this game at the highest level, and there's nothing else in life that can distract me anymore. Because it was my father's vision as well. He wanted me to, play at the highest level, and he was really, really keen on me playing at the highest level as well. So I remember making that promise to my brother, and then everything in life became second priority after that incident, and cricket was the first priority.
Yet it wasn't immediate that the success came after that, right? I mean, you kind of for a couple of year period of time started struggling. In what ways did you begin to get careless off the field?
So the thing is that the incident happens in your life and then you move on with it. You don't know the kind of motivation it registers in your heart. I always knew that nothing else can distract me from achieving my goal, but the immediate distractions were too many. Traveling to other countries, going out regularly, having drinks with friends, and just not being that focused. But the one thing that remained constant was every time I was down, every time I hit rock bottom, somehow I was able to put everything aside and say, right, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get back up. So it's not like I made a promise that I'm never going to fall down. Obviously I was going to fall down. That's life. That is always going to happen in sport and life. But the ability to come back again and again made me realize that that incident was the one incident that helped me become mentally so strong that I could, even if I was distracted, because I'm human, I will make mistakes, but the ability to come back up became so much more stronger. And right now I feel so grateful that I could get that strength from such a bad time in my life as well.
How bad did the eating and training get?
I remember I was not disciplined at all in terms of my eating and my fitness. I mean, I can't even relate to that guy anymore that I was in those years,
You look like a different person. I mean, you see pictures of right.
Yeah, so I myself feel like it's some other guy. So I had played IPL from 2008, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. IPL 12 was, I was playing for India. I was playing for the national team at the highest level, but I hadn't got the success, that some of the established players did. And IPL 2012, again, had a really, really bad IPL season, and my eating habits were horrible in that season. Very, very bad. And I remember coming back home and I came out of the shower. The team didn't do well. I came out of the shower. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, that's the time it hit me, And luckily, everything that's been bad in me, somehow I get that calling myself that you need to get it right. Like there's hardly anyone coming and telling me, you're really messing up. It just comes from within. And then I saw myself in the mirror and I was like, you can't look like that if you're an international cricketer. I was like, how the hell are you going to continue like this if you don't take care of yourself? boom, from next day onwards, I just changed everything about my diet. Hitting the gym 2 hours a day, just taking a day off in a week, eating proper lean food. I got away from all kinds of junk. I did not have a cheat day at all, and within 8 to 10 months, I lost about 6 or 7 kgs, and then from then on, it became such an addiction because I saw the results on the field. I felt quicker, I felt lighter, felt more focused, and then I was like, man, this is the path I want to walk.
And what do you think it was about that moment that caused you, by first thing the next morning, to completely reorient yourself?
Just the guilt, the shame of looking at myself and just feeling ashamed of myself that I could put myself in a position having played at such a high level and taking things for granted. I just could not register that in my mind anymore, that I've been taking things for granted and not many people get this opportunity. So I can't sit around and just say I'm going to do whatever I want and still expect to keep playing at this level. Someone else is going to take over. It's not, this is meant to be for me only if I work hard. It's not a given. So I always believe hard work is the only controllable I have.
There was a period in which you cut out all distractions for a year and a half. What did that entail?
I wanted to get back into the team so badly that that period, it was before all of this happened. This was when I played for the country and then I was left out. Mm-hmm. And for 13 months, I wasn't selected again. And then it became sort of a madness that I want to get back up. I want to get back into the team. And then, those 13 months, I was so focused. I was so focused that I want to get back. I want to get back into the team. And my performances were such that the selectors could not ignore me after a while. So eventually I got my chance again. And luckily, I've never been out of the team since.
Well, because it was around, I think, 2011, you said it dawned on you that if you wanted to be among the best players in the world, you needed to do what a lot of people were not doing.
Yeah.
Explain that.
This was actually end of 2012 actually, when we came back from Australia, and I figured out the difference or the gap that we have with other countries. And I thought if we don't change the way we are playing, or I don't change the way I'm playing, or the way I'm training, or thinking, or eating, I can never be among the best players in the world. And there's no point in just competing if you don't want to be the best. So I wanted to be the best version of myself, and then I based everything around that vision. And then my training, my diet, my approach towards the game, everything changed. And I know that I wasn't the most skilled sports person when I came in, but the only thing that's been constant is working hard on myself and my game. And that was the time I realized, well, if the Indian team has to be the best team in the world, we need to go ahead in a certain manner.
Why do you think you started believing in yourself more around then?
Because I thought, I didn't feel that, when I walked into play, there was any kind of fear or respect in the opposition's corner. So I felt like I don't want to walk into the field thinking, or the opposition thinking, oh, this is just a pushover. Don't worry about this guy. He's going to do no damage to us, and he's just playing just like another player in the team and stuff. I wanted to make an impact. I knew that I have the ability to make my team win, and I wanted to be that version of myself where if I walk in, I wanted teams to think like, we need to get this guy out or else we're going to lose the game. So I thought if I can't have that impact on my team, then I'm not doing justice to where I am. And if I don't want to be that guy, there's something wrong in my head. Either I've accepted being lower than what I should be, or I just don't have enough drive in me. So I said I'm going to unlock my max potential and achieve what I should be.
What about Novak Djokovic's body fat percentage motivated you?
So he's about 7.5 or 8%, I think. I got to 9.2 at one stage. But that was the time we were playing T20 cricket, which lasted 3 hours a game and for 6 to 8 months. And I got down to 9.2. But then we started playing this 5-day cricket, and I felt like I've got no energy left after 2 days. So my trainer told me, you need to put on a bit more fat in your body to store it, to be able to bat longer and, go in on in the games longer. So then I started increasing a bit more fat and carb intake in my diet. And yeah, but those things are motivating. I mean, you look at these guys, you look at a Cristiano Ronaldo at the age he is right now, and he's got what?
And you're a big fan of his.
I'm a huge fan of his. He's got 8% body fat at that age. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's just unbelievable. That shows you the commitment. He's a product of hard work and skill, and that's what I believe in. He's not just a product of pure skill and no hard work. And I absolutely admire people who worked really hard.
So how did you go about changing your diet?
Well, I figured out a lot of things myself, things that felt right to eat. And you know when you eat something whether it's healthy for you or not. So I never approached a nutritionist. I thought, okay, fine. I know the things that are not healthy, not good for you to eat, and I'm going to figure my way out myself to lose weight first. And then I went so extreme that I had to meet someone because I got so lean at the end of it that I felt like there's something wrong. I need to probably speak to someone. And
So what did you do that got you so lean?
I kept eating boiled food. I kept eating stuff that had no oil, nothing. I was eating steamed vegetables, and I got so thin that I started feeling weak at a point. I got so mad about it, but then I had to strike a right balance, and then my trainer helped me to speak to someone and then get my diet right.
So why vegetarian?
Vegetarian because it was connected to a health issue. So I was playing in South Africa early 2018, and I got issue in my neck. So my cervical spine had a couple of bulges coming out. They're hitting a nerve which went down my arm, and I was getting really bad pain. I couldn't sleep for even 10-15 minutes at night in one position. I just have to wake up constantly. Did scans, figured out there's a bulge coming out and it's hitting the nerve, so I had to take medicines just to be able to sleep every night. And eventually I came back, got a few tests done from this guy I know who does a lot of acupuncture treatments and stuff like that. So he told me that my stomach became so acidic that the calcium from my bones was being pulled out to make the stomach alkaline. So your stomach needs to be alkaline to function properly. If it's too acidic, it just messes up your whole system. And that was directly connected to the amount of meat I was consuming. So he said, you need to change your diet. You need to make your diet less meat-based, because it's going to increase your acid levels in the body. And then eventually I was taking 1 calcium tablet a morning, and that's not enough for the stomach to be alkaline. And I was having no alkaline drinks, nothing of that sort. And then I changed my whole diet from there. My bones were getting weaker, my bones were getting thinner, and that's why with one impact, a bulge came out. And then my physio told me eventually you'll have to cut it open and do a surgery. And I was like, I'm not going under the knife. I'm going to do anything else but get a surgery done till the time I'm playing. So yeah, I just changed my whole diet overnight, and I'm so glad that I did. It's the best decision I ever made.
Like, how did it change you?
So in the World Cup just now that we played, every game my energy was 120%. And my recovery was so fast, I could, we traveled the next day after every game, after a full hectic game. My average distance covered in a game was 15 kilometers. And I would just come back, do my recovery treatments, travel the next day to another place. And as soon as we reached there, I was ready to train again. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I have so much energy. I can do gym sessions in between. I can do 10 games in such a short span of time, with each game at high intensity. And I never experienced anything like that before. I had no stiffness in my body. I had no niggles. I had no problems in recovering, no stomach issues, nothing at all. And I was off dairy as well, raw dairy and meat. And I was like, this is unbelievable. I could never imagine that changing my diet would help me in such a massive way.
What do you eat in a normal day now?
A normal day, my meals are rice-based, really light steamed rice, a lot of green vegetables, a lot of pulses that we get in India.
A lot of what?
Pulses, so like lentils and pulses, so they're a form of lentils. So that has quite a bit of protein and fiber, and they're quite healthy to eat. So we eat infertile eggs as well. And yeah, it's just simple, basic vegetarian food, but a lot of greens and a lot of rice-based meals.
Training. Why did your trainer make you lift with only a stick, basically, for the first month and a half?
He made me lift with a stick because he told me that. Firstly, he asked me whether I wanted to get into powerlifting, your cleans and your power snatch and all those kind of things, and deadlifts and stuff. So I said yes, of course. I want to move on to the next level because I feel like, it's becoming stagnant what I'm doing, and it's not taking my game to the next level. And he was like, so this is what comes with it. If you don't learn the technique, if you want to jump into it right now, you'll snap a muscle and then you'll be out for a long time. The stick is so light, it's annoying after a while to just keep going on with the stick because you feel like you just want to do something in the gym. But he said, trust me, the day I tell you to lift, you'll see the difference. So I did it for a month and a half, and the first time I did a lift was a 20 kg Olympic bar and 5 kg plates each side. So from 30 kg, I went to 55 kg. It was like a span of 7 days. It was so quick because I knew the technique.
Right.
And then my body could take the load. And he said, if you didn't know the technique, you would have gone into the hospital right now because the movements are so tricky to do. But I'm so glad that I learned those fitness routines because I clearly remember the first time I did it, we were playing a game in Sri Lanka and I was fielding and I was running behind a ball to stop it. And I just felt so much power in my legs. I got so amazed by the speed I was able to generate while in that movement. I surprised myself. I was like, it's all because of that training, and then I got hooked onto it.
How did it impact hitting the ball further?
Well, it just improved my power overall. So I was doing a few lifts before I would go and play. So I was literally game ready when I sat into the team bus. And I would just go on the field, just have fun, just jog around a little bit. No warm-up, nothing, just stretch a little bit. And I was ready. And I experienced that I was hitting the ball about 15 meters further than I did before. Purely because my legs and my core became so strong without me knowing it. And you get so much more confident because you feel like you can play the way you want because you can clear the boundary and you're not going to get out. So that's a totally different freedom altogether.
How often are you in the gym now, and what do the workouts entail?
They differ from in season to out of season. So in season, for example, in the World Cup just now, I did very few lifts because when you're running so much, the trainer believes in doing a lot of unilateral stuff, just strengthening the muscles, focusing on small muscle groups. When I came back now, my routine is 8 sessions of heavy, proper powerlifting. So, and then they have few supplementary exercises on the alternate days. So I'm actually quite focused in terms of what I want to do. Even while, so we are setting up the stuff for another place we're moving into, and the first thing I asked the architects was, where can I put a gym in the house? What is the dimension like? Put them in touch with the trainer. What are the machines that you want me to have in the house? Figure out the area, do the dimensions, give it to the people, and all that process is happening. So I'm very precise in terms of my training.
So what are they going to put in?
A whole lot of different things. A few machines that have come in new, a lifting platform for sure, which I've been using for a while now. A few machines which are specific, a glute ham machine which works on your hamstrings really well, a couple of other machines which work on your calf muscles, and then a lot of different things which, like I'm getting the new treadmills which give you resistance training and the ability to sprint within your house, the impact that you have on a field and stuff like that. So yeah, it's quite interesting to be involved in those things.
The World Cup, your reaction to India's semi-final exit?
Well, the reaction was obviously of heartbreak. It's very difficult to process something like that immediately. It's only now that we've started to sort of get over it, get past it. But every morning we woke up thinking, you got that feeling of the team bus is going to leave now to play the finals. We should be heading to London to the next team hotel and start our practice. Every morning we woke up, all of us, and I would ask my teammates as well, are you feeling the same way? And they'd be like, exactly that way. You feel like you don't even register that it's done because it happens so suddenly and you've been involved in something for a month and a half and it just takes a bit of time to get over.
What's the hardest part of getting over a loss like that?
As I said, the hardest part is afterwards. On that particular day, you can still look at the positive side of it, but waking up the next few days is the toughest bit of it. And everyone knows that. Everyone goes through the same thing. just a feeling of disbelief.
What about now?
It's fine now because the World Cup's over as well. But those few days till the finals was very, very difficult to accept. Very, very difficult to process because you knew the tournament's still going on and you're not in it. That's a very different feeling.
How exciting is the fact that India is going to be hosting the next World Cup?
Oh, it's amazing. I've experienced one before. We won it in 2012 or 2011. And it was the most amazing. Although I was the youngest member of the team, but I saw the whole frenzy around the competition. And every airport we went, every time we were checking into a flight, security, everyone just said, you have to get the cup. There is no other option. You have to get the cup. And I saw all these senior players, just being calm about it. And I was the youngest. No one would tell me anything because I was just there in the team, after everyone else. But all these senior players, I saw the pressure on them. And then I felt like, wow, this is a whole different ball game. So, yeah, India is going to be very different, yes.
Sachin Tendulkar, how would you explain how much you idolized him growing up?
Well, I used to, it's funny, when I got to play with him, all these memories of me watching him play on TV just came to me like in a moment. I remember growing up, he was the one who revolutionized the sport in this country, just purely because of the way he went on about things. You'll always have someone who will come and change the sport. So if you talk about basketball, you talk about Jordan, the way he, just changed the whole outlook of the game and unlocked new abilities for people to believe in. And that's exactly what he did. Before he came in, people didn't believe that these things could be done. But then he led the way and made people believe, no, these things can be done. And he made the sport more exciting. I remember I used to...
And that's you now.
So that's the funny thing. You realize that now, that although in terms of skill, in terms of the innovation in sport, a lot of that is happening. But I think my opportunity I've been presented with is to motivate people in another manner, which is improving the culture of, cricket and the way cricketers should aspire to play for the country, work hard on their fitness, be disciplined, take care of their diet, take it to the absolute peak of professionalism, because in order to keep the standard of the sport going in the country and globally, everyone needs to take responsibility. So I think I'm contributing in that regard. But what he did from pure skill point of view, just the way he was able to bat, was so much more different to anyone else. And that just fascinated me. I was like, man, this is so much more different. And it was so captivating. You just couldn't take your eyes off when he was batting. And I used to go to these shops and get my packet of chips and my nibbles and just sit in front of the TV to watch him bat. And it was just pure joy.
How true is it that you told your teachers back then that you were going to be the next Sachin Tendulkar?
Well, a few people will always question you, you're practicing, you're playing, but what is actually your goal? So I used to tell them I want to be like Sachin. I'm going to one day play for my country and, become this cricketer. And they all used to find it like all fun and nice back then. But even I didn't realize I was talking with absolute seriousness. But one thing I remember was when I used to watch everyone like Indian team play. So in cricket, either you bat first or there's a score on the board and then you bat second and you try to achieve that. So it's the basic sort of nature of the sport. So whenever the Indian team was batting second and they had to score more than what the opposition had already scored.
Which means they're chasing.
Chasing, yes. Right, you know the terms. So, and when they faltered, I promise you, I used to go to sleep thinking, if I was in the Indian shirt, I used to dream of it. If I was wearing that shirt and I was in that situation, I could have done it. And it's happened so many times in my career till now that I've been involved in a chase and I've finished the game off. And I don't know whether it was that conviction that formed in my head when I was that young, that when I'm in that situation now, everything just takes over. So that's the power of mind.
So the first time you see him in the dressing room, he's in the corner, you're sitting and staring at him for like 15 minutes. Set the scene and what you remember.
So we entered the change room and everyone's busy organizing their stuff. And I am not bothered about my stuff. I just let my bags be the way they were, and I was just looking at him. He's in the corner, and I'm just observing whatever he's doing. I mean, think about it. I've looked up to this guy for my whole life, and then right now he's in front of me in the Indian team change room, and I'm like, I couldn't sort of process that moment. And then I'm looking at him organizing his stuff. He's like proper, like precise about how his stuff is going to be like, how his bags are placed. how his gloves, pads, bats, everything is placed, and he's going on about his work. And then he looked up and glanced at me, and he gave me a smile because I just entered the team and he wanted to make me feel comfortable. And I felt so embarrassed that I'd been looking at him, so I just looked away. And that sort of initial hesitation, but he was very welcoming and very warm, and that's one thing that I really admire about him.
What do you think you learned from him?
I learned humility. I learned absolute commitment to the sport, and just after playing for 25 years for your country, still having the commitment to put the effort that he put when he was on the field is something which I think is a huge learning for anyone, not just in sport, but I think across anything in life.
2013, West Indies, Sachins farewell test. Take me through what you recall and why you felt like you wanted to give him your dad's thread.
Well, it was obviously, we knew that this is his farewell series, but till the time we got to Mumbai, last test, last game of the series, last day of that game is the time that it hit everyone. Sachin Tendulkar is not going to play for India ever again. Imagine for 25 years, there's one name that's been constant in the Indian cricket team, and now he's not going to be there. We felt like, how a child feels like when they're scared or they're by themselves at night, walking home, and you feel that sort of that hollow and that, emptiness around you. All of us felt like that because there was no one in the team that didn't look up to him. All those people in the team were all young people, and we all have looked up to him. So that was a very emotional thing for us to process, but his emotion obviously was of a different level at that stage, in front of his people, going out like that, the most amazing farewell I've ever seen. And then I remember in the change room, I just felt like, just to pay respect. I thought there's nothing I could ever give him, but to make him understand what impact he's had on me, and how he's inspired me. The most special thing I have is a thread. We usually wear threads around our wrist. In India, a lot of people do. So my father gave one to me, which he used to have. So just to keep with me. So I used to keep that with me in my bag. And then I thought, this is the most valuable thing I have. So it's like my father gave this to me, and I think I couldn't give you anything more valuable, and I just want you to know how much you've inspired me and what you mean to all of us, and this is my little gift to you.
What sticks out to you from that moment, giving it to him and his reaction?
His reaction was I think he understood what he's done for the young cricketers growing up in this country, and I think it was if someone came up to me tomorrow and said that I've impacted their life in a certain manner, I would obviously get very emotional because I know where I come from, and obviously he knows his whole life story and his journey. You could never imagine as a child that one day someone's going to come and tell you, you've impacted my life in such a massive way. And I don't think there's anything bigger than having a positive impact on another human being. Apart from all your achievement, apart from what you do in terms of numbers and all that stuff, when someone comes and says, I really appreciate the effort you put in my life and you helped me at some stage, and I'm really grateful for that. I've never felt gratitude more stronger than that.
Anushka, what people in the States would not know is that you guys are the celebrity it couple here. And what's the nickname they have for you?
Virushka.
Virushka.
So they combined Virat and Anushka. They made it Virushka. Yeah.
How did you guys meet, and how did you go about asking her out the first time?
So we met at a commercial shoot for a shampoo. And I remember my manager, Bunty, he told me, so you have this brand coming up, and it was a known brand called Clear shampoo. And I was like, great, sounds good, this sounds exciting. And I was like, who is it with? And then he's like, it's with Anushka Sharma. I was like, are you kidding me? you got to be joking. He said, no, I'm serious. I was like, how the hell am I going to be in a frame with a professional actor? I'm going to look like a fool. I have no idea how to do this. And then he's like, you'll be fine, don't worry. It's a nice script. It's all fun and games. And I was like, okay, fine. And then the first time I met her, I cracked a joke immediately, with her. And then
Were you nervous?
I was very nervous, and that's why I cracked a joke, because I didn't know what to do. And I was standing on set and I was being all nervous and jittery. And then she came in and I was like, I just cracked a joke in front of her. And then
You remember what you said?
Yeah, I remember what I said. I thought I was being funny, but I just said something which wasn't probably the right thing to say, because she's tall as well, and she was being told that I'm not that tall. I'm not like 6 feet plus or something like that, and you must not wear like massive heels or anything. So she walked in with this much height of heels, and I saw her, and she was looking taller than me, and I was like, didn't you get a higher pair of heels than this? And she was like, excuse me? I was like, no, I'm just joking. So my joke actually became, quite a weird moment for myself. I behaved like such a fool, to be honest. And she was so confident because, she's on set regularly, and I was just like, how the hell am I going to go through this? But yeah, it was a shoot that went across 3 days. We shot at different times, and then slowly she realized, because she's also from a very similar background as me.
How so?
Middle class families, made it in their respective careers, worked hard, got to a certain stage. So actually, in hindsight, when we look at our lives, they were going at the same pace, but in totally different worlds. The timelines of my debut, August 2008, the timeline of her starting her first film shooting was 2008 August. Same year we came into the scene, but we didn't know each other till 2013 we met, and then our life has been so similar but in totally different worlds. And then we got along so well because we were talking real things, and we were talking things that a lot of people don't connect with. Only if you've seen that life you will understand what we're talking about. So the connect was there immediately, and then we became good friends, and then things went on from there.
Wait, so how did you ask her out the first time?
It was quite like very traditional. We would go out for meals, and we'd just spend time with each other, and then eventually, you didn't really have to ask out, I guess, because both of us knew that we like spending time with each other. And then things, I don't even actually remember any time when we thought of, okay, this is the transition that's happening. It was so organic and natural. Things just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and then we knew that we just wanted to be with each other.
We were talking a bit about this in the car, but what do you think you each have learned from one another?
Well, that's the one thing that people don't register, and I don't think they register till date, is that when you are with someone who's been at the same level as you in terms of being in the public eye, understanding the pressures of situations, they understand you so well, and you can literally speak to them about whatever's going on in your mind because they know exactly what you're saying, and similar for her as well. So the fact that we understood each other's situations, the pressures, the things that we were dealing with, it just, we absolutely love spending time with each other, and we just had such a strong connect. And as Gagan mentioned, whoever meets us, they immediately tell us, we can feel your connection. It's not even like we are wanting to present something in front of people, but it's just organic, it's just natural. We're literally like, each other's best friend, and we love hanging out with each other. And the comfort of being able to share anything with your partner, I think, is the most amazing thing. And we've both learned different things from each other. I learned a lot of, things of acceptance, things of working on myself, things of, just looking at the world in a different manner, not being closed as a person. And she's learned a lot from my life as well, just, in terms of motivating yourself, working hard on things. And we've just kept learning of each other all the time.
How did you propose?
So basically the plan was all executed by Anushka, because I was in the middle of a series, and she figured out the location and everything, and she mentioned it pretty categorically that we have to keep it confidential, and there was no other way around it.
And you guys
And
went to Italy, right?
yes, but even then, one of the media guys I think reached there, but he wasn't allowed to.
Confidential, he didn't tell us until we landed in Florence.
Yeah,
Wow.
We landed in Florence, we asked the driver, where are we going? He said, I'm not supposed to tell you that.
nothing, even them.
And you only had 42 people at the wedding.
Yeah,
so it was
wedding was
small,
very
right?
private. Yes. So this was the announcement, and we announced everything, and everyone knew, and there was like a frenzy and prop security, and people had to get in with their cards and stuff like that. Otherwise, you can't enter. So proper top level stuff, and then we came to Bombay to do another celebration for her industry friends, my cricketer friends, and then 2 celebrations. So across 2 celebrations, after they ended, the next day, our family said, we're so glad you did it in Italy. Because they had, and we said, imagine if the main thing happened in India, it would have been madness. They could not handle 2 celebration parties, and then that's when they realized, okay, what they did was the right thing.
So you're on your honeymoon in Finland. Tell about going to the coffee shop.
I can't believe this. I mean, we go to Finland. We were hoping to see the Northern Lights, but we just could not because it was snowing for all 3 days, and but we were just fascinated and just taken aback by the whole place. It was pure, like white and snow all over, and so clean. Like there was literally no pollution. There was so few people around, and then we were like, wow, this place is stunning. Beautiful lodge. Then we went to a coffee shop one day in the city center. I was like, feel like having a coffee. It's so cold. Coffee would be fun. So we enter the place, and I'm like, okay, this is one place in the world where we haven't seen anyone from India yet. And this is amazing. We're not getting, noticed by anyone, and this is pure freedom. And suddenly I look around, and I look, in the corner of the coffee shop, there's a guy, a Sikh guy with a turban. And I just looked away, and then, I just got my coffee. I was trying to hide from him. And I took my coffee, we went and sat on the table, and I told Anushka, I saw this guy. And she's like, no way, all the way in Finland. I was like, yeah. And then that guy noticed us, and he came to the table, and then he said, so good to see you guys. My last name is also Kohli. And I was like, what are the chances of seeing one Indian guy all the way in Finland, and his last name is the same as mine? And I was like, man, when are we ever going to go to a place where we don't get noticed at all? But yeah, that was funny all the way in Finland where we didn't expect anyone to be there. We saw one.
Explain how a tweet you sent out in defense of your wife ends up being the most retweeted tweet for the entire year in the country of India.
Well, it was so ever since we played the World Cup in 2015, and we played a semi-final then as well, and I got out. I did not score many runs, and my wife was there watching the game, and for some reason people in our country love to blame women, and apparently the reason why we lost was because she was sitting in the stadium and she brought bad luck. It can get to that stage. A person who has no involvement in the game, who's just watching, supporting her husband and the country, suddenly has the most adverse effect on a game. And it started from there. She was regularly being targeted and trolled and being pulled down whenever I didn't do well, and we sensed a lot of insecurity because of her presence around the whole system. And then it got to a stage where again, some incident happened and people started trolling her, and all those kind of things happened, and then we spoke and she was quite hurt by it, and I thought, well, this has to stop at a certain stage, and then I put out that tweet, and then it got retweeted. But the surprising thing was that it resumed again. I mean,
Really?
yeah, I mean, it was more like, oh, something drastic has happened where this guy stood up for something. It's so good, something good happens. Oh, we believe in it for 4 or 5 days. And then the next opportunity, they do the same to her again. So, I mean, we've actually been quite amazed and quite surprised to see so many people finding such pleasure out of pulling someone else down. We never do that to anyone. We've never done that to anyone. We can't even register that. And I think that's the negative side of social media that people find it difficult to process, because so many people are just being happy at the expense of someone else, which is so wrong.
Fame. How does your fame in India impact your ability to lead a normal life?
I don't think that um, I am even expecting to lead a normal life in India anymore. But the thing is that your priorities change over a period of time. Basically, you can't really go out and do normal things anymore. You can't really say, okay, I'm gonna just get into my car, drive to a shop, to a grocery store, and just pick up some stuff and come back, or
What would happen if you did that?
I'd probably not come back home, or something like that. I would not be allowed to leave, and it's just that I don't blame people for coming towards someone, but I think everyone should understand a sense of knowing that there is a limit to everything. Which unfortunately, when you have a lot of people, as I said, it's not their fault. They feel like I want to do my picture and then get done with it. But if that is being said by 200 people around you, then you have to wait for 200 to finish, and it's never ending. So it's very difficult for the person involved to actually draw the line, and then invariably what do, you stop going to places which can potentially create that environment. And as I said, we don't have any aspirations to lead a normal life, but you have to sort of confine your life in a way and then find joy in other things.
But if you're on the weekend and you decide, I want to go downstairs in my apartment complex and go walk to the nearby store, I mean, that is an impossibility.
Yeah,
for you.
Absolute impossibility. In India, no chance. All we can do is, so we live in an apartment building now, which has a little recreational area. It's a little small park and a pool area and a gym. So all you can do is just go down, sit there, have a cup of coffee if you want. But going out on the streets is absolute no-no.
Explain what Royal Jail is.
We so we speak about this a lot on tour. So when we are playing games in India, a royal jail is just being in a hotel and not being able to go out at all. Just being confined in the area. Okay, there are services, there's everything, but you go to the ground, you come back, you're literally not stepping out of the hotel at all. Everything's taken care of, but you just can't go out. So that's what we funnily call royal jail, because you are living a good life. You are getting all the facilities, but you just don't have the option of stepping out. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, it is what it is, and you have to accept that situation.
What do you love about the anonymity of overseas cricket tours?
Well, I love just being able to go out for walks, just going to a cafe, as you said, just walking to a cafe and just sit there without being noticed. And I actually, at times there are people who, so if I'm getting a haircut in a place and those people have no idea who I am, and I'm just so happy just waiting there with everyone, just waiting for my chance to get a cut, and someone who recognizes me will come in and say to the owners, do you know who he is? And I shot, they don't need to know, please don't announce it to them. And I'm like, please don't tell everyone who I am. I'm loving this, I'm loving people not knowing who I am, and I don't like people announcing to everyone who I am, even if they don't know me. Because they just start looking at you in a different way then, rather than just treating you like a normal person. And you crave being treated like a normal person, because at the end of the day, as a human being, that's what gives you pure joy. Just being able to walk out and just being able to be at the same level with everyone, just talk to people for the pure organic process of just talking to a human being, not saying this guy is important so I'm going to speak to him. I love having random conversations with people. If they don't know me and they start talking about something, that's the most beautiful thing, because you're connecting at a level which has no judgment, no assumptions. And because you're judged and assumed and presumed all the time, that to me is the most amazing thing to experience.
And when you're on tour in Australia or South Africa, explain why you'll try and avoid making any plans.
Well, because you don't need to. You don't need to plan anything in particular, and it's just the freedom of just being able to go out there and not having to think of, okay, I'm gonna reach at this place at this time, so you need to have security people ready for me and stuff. It's just so random and spontaneous, and that's just to feel that freedom of, I can just pick up my headphones, just go out for a walk all by myself, or just go out with my teammates, just chill, have a coffee, have a nice meal, go around the shops. I mean, I've actually roamed around the mall in South Africa all by myself for about 2 hours. And I know this sounds like he's talking about something so strange, anyone can do it. But for me to be able to do it all by myself was a revelation. I was like, I put my music on and I was just walking by myself, going from shop to shop. Yes, people recognize me, but that was one time I felt like I had no fear of, people coming towards me or I'm going to be noticed or something like that. And I've never felt so light in my life.
All right, so the foundation. How did you go about deciding the direction you wanted to head with it?
So this started in 2012 is when the conversation started. We formed the foundation, and then the announcement happened with one of those football games where we get a team of the Bollywood actors who play together in a side and they practice together against cricketers. So for people in India, that's like the most fascinating thing to see actors and cricketers in the same field together and just having fun and being friendly. And like you have those exhibition games where everyone plays.
Sure.
And that brings in a lot of attention. So we announced it like that. And then in time we started raising funds and we got to a stage where we thought of doing an athlete development program where we thought if we want to contribute in a larger way to the sporting community, it has to be spread across all sports. So then we built a jury of people who select different athletes of a young age group from all kind of sports, monitor their progress, see who are the potential people who can actually go up to the national level and then compete at a global level and hopefully achieve a lot more for the country, and it just boosts the whole sporting culture. So we started to pick those people out and take care of their whole process, from their fitness, from their requirements, to literally like sponsoring them to help them in their journeys. And it's been an amazing thing to be part of. When you see these guys succeeding and you follow their progress, you feel so, I wouldn't say proud, but you feel so happy to see that you are able to contribute, as I said, to someone's journey when you understand the challenges that can occur when you were growing up and you didn't have that much support around you to actually reach your potential. But now if you see potential in someone, to take them to that level and being able to help in that regard, I think for me is the most fortunate thing as a sportsman.
I believe you're providing for 17 athletes right now. In what ways do you support them?
Any requirement they have, from travel to sponsoring their equipment, to fitness, to getting them in touch with the right people for their fitness routines and regimes and all that sort of stuff, to getting them to speak to the coaches that they require, the kind of training that they need to do, anything basically that is required in their journey to get to the stage that they want to get. So that whole process is being taken care of, and we are also exposing them to understanding the commercial side of things as well, to be able to communicate properly, to be able to speak with people in a manner, to be able to build your own brand in the process as well. So I think all those kind of things, because I never had education of how to build my brand or what should my approach be in life, how do I need to model myself or mold myself in a manner. But I think those social skills and the skills of understanding who you are as a person, as a sports person, and what potential you have commercially as well as in your skill is very, very important.
Cricketers receive a lot more attention in India than an Olympian would receive. What would be your ultimate goal for how your support pays off?
For me, it's such an unfortunate thing to see, because someone who takes the name of the country to that level on a global scale in the Olympics, they don't get treated in the right manner. And I think the concerned bodies should be providing a lot more for them than they do already. And it's not good to see someone just going down in life after they compete and they have no idea, no vision, no help from any other place. So my ultimate goal in life, and that is our big plan in the pipeline in future as well, to be able to create a space, an environment, see more like a campus, a sports campus, where I didn't have any idea of the rules of any other sport when I was growing up. I learned because I was traveling so much. I learned because I had exposure. The people who do not have exposure, they do not understand other sports. So to become a total sporting nation, and the culture to become even more stronger than it is right now. Like, you want to be able to go to every sport. You want to be able to watch a football game in the same vicinity and go watch a tennis match or a badminton match, or you need to have keen interest in all kinds of things. So if my vision is to have a campus where all athletes can learn about each other's sport and then have that information spread out to their communities and eventually to the public, and then everyone says, we want to watch every sport and not just one sport.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.